These are times NBA players fought referees.
Oh, he's going to get tossed. There it is. Scott Foster says goodbye.
Oh, and he threw his mouthpiece and hit him in the back. Yeah.
And first, Carlos Boozer swung for the ref's children.
Oh, wow. He did get him.
But this next one was disrespectful because Fred VanVleet almost poked the ref's eye out.
Now, Fred VanVleet was just thrown out of the game.
Freddie's got to be careful.
That was a 50K poke right there. But one ref pissed off a 7-foot monster. See, Joel Embiid was ready to commit murder on a ref.
And now he's been ejected. And Embiid is done for the night. Boy, Embiid is still going.
He is animated, to say the least.
But Marcus Morris wasn't letting anyone stop him from throwing hands, because the Stripes tried to hold him back, but instead got tossed.
The contact underneath the rim with Anunoby and Morris, and some shoving between those two.
Wow.
Ibaka gets into it. Tempers flaring early here in D.C.
Players use any chance they got to get their revenge. Just ask Isaiah Thomas.
Thomas. What is this? Wait. Isaiah Thomas just got ejected? Is that what we're seeing? Did both get ejected? Oh. IT put his hands on Murat Koga.
But sometimes the refs deserve to get hit, because Austin Rivers accidentally hit the ref and was immediately tossed.
They're just tenacious. There's Spates. Ooh, wait a minute.
Thrown out of the game.
He's been thrown out of the game, and they may have to take Doc with him. And he's liable to get fined if he doesn't get off here quickly.
Now for Dennis Rodman, any bad whistle could make him go psycho, because he got in some foul trouble and couldn't control his head.
Ted Bernard. It looked like he headbutted him.
He just was trying to make his point. They're trying to grab him, and now he throws his jersey back out of court, very upset.
Dog, if I was reffing Rodman's games, I'd give him every call just to stay alive. But Paul Pierce punched a ref in the face.
It's a foul, but they wave it off and say there's no continuation.
But this next one was just nasty. See, Amir Johnson got into a scuffle with the zebra over the ball. And when words weren't enough, he threw his mouthpiece.
Oh, and he threw his mouthpiece and hit him in the back. Yeah, that's going to be suspension time for Amir Johnson. You don't like to see that.
Come on, bro. Over a ball? But look, some refs deserve to get slapped in the face. See, Jeff Teague was playing back in Indiana, his hometown. So you already know his mama and his sister, they were there to cheer the boy on. That's when referee Tony Brothers took things way too far.
My mama and my aunt Niecy was sitting courtside, and they had my jersey. They cheering and every time I came in the game. And he pulled me to the side. He was like, "Man, who them hoes?"
Oh, hell no.
I lost it. I was like, "That's my mama, you blah, blah, blah." I'm start going crazy. And he kept apologizing, nah.
But nobody was as unhinged with the refs like Anthony Edwards, because he's dropped 6 figures in fines this year alone. But against the Grizzlies, he left the refs fingered.
Up top! Lefty smash!
Oh, Edwards called for a technical foul.
Right, come on.
I think
that is unlike you.
That's all of our faces.
Hand signs weren't cutting it for the Ant-Man, but Steph Curry had weapons for the refs. See, in Game 6 of the 2016 Finals, Steph fouled LeBron and almost lost control.
Deflected rebound. And a foul on Curry, and Curry's going to get it with a technical. He throws his mouthpiece after fouling out of the game.
And it hit a fan, Mike.
But he wasn't done with the slobber guard just yet. See, in 2023, he wasn't trying to miss, because an obvious foul call at the end of the game made Curry lose it.
Steph Curry has been ejected with 1:14 to go and Golden State leading by 2.
Allen Iverson took his beef with the refs to another level, because against the Detroit Pistons, they had it out for him.
Against Hunter, he was looking for a foul. The offensive foul was called. He almost threw the ball. Then he thinks he gets fouled on this breakaway. Also goes down hard to get the layup. Finally, he decided it was time to say something. The ball gets twirled, and whatever came out of his mouth was a little twisted too, and there's the technical. And now they call holding the ball.
Yeah, they weren't done, because in 2007, he was traded to the Nuggets, and on his first game back against his former team, he got ejected.
So Steve Javy, backhand Steve, good job, has just thrown Allen Iverson out of the game.
And on the way out, he said he wanted Javy dead. This obviously didn't sit right with refs around the league, so they made their next mission to get him back.
Allen Iverson, although he carries the ball all the time and it's never called, we were going to enforce that rule against him that night, and we went out in the first half and we all each took a turn. You know, we had a pact. We're all going to call a palming violation on him, and we did that. And I did tell, you know, Tommy to bet against Denver that night, and Iverson came up to me during a free throw and he said, "Tim, how long is this going to go on for?"
Damn, that shit went too far. And that's why Rasheed didn't just beef with refs. He made it his career-long mission to cause havoc. I mean, this dude was getting texts just for staring.
Whack, get out.
Yeah, Sheed was public enemy #1 for officials. So he went to the basketball gods and created his own rules. Because whenever Wildest got done wrong, he let the ball decide who was right or wrong.
Dragic misses, and a technical foul on Rasheed Wallace. He's gone.
But in the 2000 season, he just couldn't contain his rage. I mean, he racked up 38 technicals in a single season, a record up to that point. But the next year, he broke it with another 42-point pile-on. And if you didn't think he was serious enough, he took his issues off the floor. Look, after the Celtics got their heart ripped out in Game 7 of the 2010 Finals, Rasheed tried to break into the referee's locker room. But even to this day, the sight of a referee makes him sick.
Yo, I ain't got no love for them cats. Y'all cats is out there cheating. Yeah, I'm gonna give y'all everything I got. And guess what? You gonna hear what I gotta say. I don't care about no fine. Because with me, it wasn't about the money. Because you can't control me with the money. That's what they think they could do. Oh, I'm going to give you a tech. Go ahead, tech me. But guess what? You only got that power for 48 minutes. What about when we off of this court and I see your ass?
Ned was getting worked up just talking about the refs. But they're lucky he never went off like Nick Van Exel. See, referee Ron Gerritsen hit Nick with a tech, which had Van Exel shoving him across the scores table.
Van Exel has been suspended for 7 games and fined a record $25,000. That's his punishment for shoving referee Ron Gerritsen in last night's game at Denver.
The shove was so unbelievable, even Magic was disgusted.
It's bad, and I want him to know that. You just don't do it. It's a respect that you've got to have for the referee.
But if Nick wasn't going to learn on the court, his pockets made him humble, because that freakout cost him $25K in fines. But that was just a fraction. I mean, Van Exel was banned for the final 7 games of the season and missed out on another $161K. But even his mentor, who told him to control himself, couldn't take his own advice. Look, just 5 days after Nick's freakout, Magic Johnson met Scott Foster and had the same issues.
Magic thought he was fouled there. Technical foul, and now he just bumped the official, and he's gone.
But look, we gotta talk about the time refs changed the outcome of a series. See, the Western Conference Finals between the Lakers and Kings became one of the biggest conspiracies in NBA history, because the Lakers were a dynasty in the making, steamrolling their way to a three-peat. But the Kings were just the team to take them down, and they almost did. Sacramento had LA on the ropes, leading the series 3-2. Now in Game 6, they came out swinging, but the refs, they had one job: make sure Game 7 happened.
When you talk about Dick Bavetta in 2002, I don't know if you remember the famous Lakers-Sacramento Game 6, right? Yep. He openly said to a lot of us that he was the NBA's go-to guy. He was put on Game 6s to make sure they went to a Game 7, and that was one of the most up, games in the history of the NBA.
Yes. Yep. See, by the time the fourth quarter rolled around, both Kings centers had fouled out on sketchy calls like this.
Got Pollard with number 6. Game 6. Lakers hoping to take it back to Sacramento for Game 7. Leonard called for the offensive foul.
And if that wasn't bad enough, Sacramento couldn't even let Kobe breathe.
Here's Bryant playing the line. They rejected a foul.
I'm not sure where any foul is other than Kobe jumping in.
The refs were up to something, because they allowed the Lakers to shoot 27 free throws in the fourth quarter alone. And even if Kobe wasn't facing pressure, the refs still let him get away with dishing out pain.
Kobe Bryant, an elbow. Yes, an elbow right in the chops.
So when Game 7 came around, it became the highest rating for a non-finals game in history. That couldn't just be a coincidence. Even Kobe Bryant himself later admitted the refs were wilding that night, but he wasn't taking any excuses.
What's the official's name?
Tim Donaghy.
he definitely had money on it.
Yep.
So that's a fact.
Yes.
So from that standpoint, yes. But from the Kings missing 20-something free throws in Game 7.
Good point. Good point.
Unless you go and check their bank accounts, I don't know what else to tell you.
People forget that.
And no matter how much evidence piled up, the NBA just swept it under the rug. But this next conspiracy proved the NBA was rigged, because Tim Donaghy was a ref who called games with a hidden agenda for the mob. See, this is Jimmy Batista, and he moved illegal bets for gangsters. And to take his scheme to the next level, Jimmy found out he had an old friend to make him rich.
You know, I knew he was in high school. I played football with his brother Jimmy. His brother Jimmy was a great athlete. Timmy was decent athlete himself, a little arrogant, obnoxious. I knew at this point he became an NBA referee. I knew who he was, and I didn't think at that point, like, you know, here I am escalating up the scale in my life as a gambler that, you know, I'm going to contact an NBA official.
Once Donaghy got the word, he was all in and went straight to work. For years, Donaghy went about calling games with money on his mind, and he found a way to never look suspicious.
Fixing games. I mean, people, some people think that I went out there and put Shaquille O'Neal to the bench or LeBron James to the bench so that some of these bets won. That's really not what happened. I picked the games based on relationships that existed between referees and players, referees and coaches, and referees and owners, and what took place in the morning meetings with the referees and what was going to be called that night and how a team was going to be put at an advantage or disadvantage.
We also made a deal kind of that I said, there's got to be games that you're in the locker room, you know what's going on, you're hearing things, whatever. If you see a game that is something that we want to double our bet or triple our bet on, we're going to call it a schmaga. It was code words. So this is a significant word because Schmaga was a Down syndrome boy that grew up with us that everyone loved. And everyone loved Joey. So we called him Schmaga. With our wins and the Schmagas together, it was like over $225,000 I paid him.
Dude was betting on games to make sure his pockets were full, but it wasn't long before things got sloppy. Because in 2007, the FBI caught him slipping. See, the feds were already investigating a massive gambling ring, and when they wiretapped the mobster's phone, guess whose name came up? Tim freaking Donaghy.
The FBI section of the Gambino investigators had put up a wire through some sort of probable cause. But Tim was picked up with conversations between the other cooperator, and they then knew him. They just followed that and knew that there was a corrupt NBA official.
Turns out, he had been feeding inside info to the Gambino crime family. And once the FBI started digging, they realized this dude had been fixing games for years. And the worst part, he wasn't alone.
I don't know if you guys know the name Michael Francisi. He was a famous captain in the Colombo crime family who's now out of jail and become a preacher, has left organized crime. He's on the record as saying that 3 NBA referees in the 1990s were on his personal payroll, and none of them were named Tim Donaghy. So I wasn't the only one passing along information. Was he paying them for them? I don't know what their setup was, but I'm sure he wasn't giving them chocolate bars,
Donaghy got busted, spent 15 months in prison, and became the biggest disgrace in NBA history. But look, we still have the craziest NBA versus ref beef in history of the game. Because Chris Paul's beef with Scott Foster goes back to the 2000s when CP3 was still rocking a New Orleans Hornets jersey. See, in the 2008 playoffs, Scott Foster refed the largest playoff blowout ever played.
Jason Hart to J.R. Smith from Denver, and it's good. 58. We're sitting on an NBA record right now.
Chris took a 58-point L, and they had issues every single day since. Even Chris Paul's son got caught in the crossfire. Now, little Chris was only a child playing on the court when Scott crossed the line.
Little Chris was playing in the tunnel. Scott Foster in the car with the other refs rolls up to him, like honks the horn at him, yells at him, get the f out the way, and some other expletives. CP3 finds out about that naturally, like any of us would do it with our kids. Is not particularly happy about that. He also shed some light on some conversations they've had throughout the years with Scott Foster, kind of just saying some before games.
Nothing could repair their relationship after Scott disrespected Chris's boy. And for every playoff game that Scott Foster refed after that, Chris Paul literally couldn't win. Just imagine having championship dreams and losing 13 straight times to the same ref.
I got a tech tonight. Yeah, Scott Foster at his finest. You know what I mean? Yeah. He just never fails. I'm over there with Courtney saying, that's Scott, and I get a tech. You know what I mean? That's history there. So Scott, he the man. That's who they pay to see.
Now, 2018 was a real heartbreaker, because after CP got out for Game 7, Scott still made sure Chris wasn't going anywhere. See, even though the Rockets missed 27 straight threes, Scott watched them get mugged.
Harden. He was looking for a foul on Bell. Mike D'Antoni upset.
And should have gotten it. I mean, they are in their grill.
Here's Harden, way off.
Another foul he should have gotten.
Conference final. Harden scores. But he's fouled by Thompson.
And the beef continued. See, the Rockets blew a 19-point lead, and Chris Paul said it was time for Scott to go.
I mean, I don't know what else to do. I met with the league with him before and all this stuff. I don't know what else to do. I just don't know what else to do. Just keep playing. I don't know what else to do.
But the NBA wasn't listening, and the curse kept growing. Look, during Game 7 in 2020, while CP was with the Thunder, Scott decided to be a troll.
When he went up to him and said, hey, you know you haven't won against me on closeout games? Told him to his face, you know you haven't won. Like, what the are you telling me that for? Boom, loss.
It was clear Scott was there to do anything he could to sabotage CP's wins. And after Scott refused to review an obvious call, he put CP in tears.
Gilgeous-Alexander is going to have to burn another timeout. Billy Donovan all the way out at half court to make it happen.
And they're saying that they called the foul prior to. So that's what the Oklahoma City Thunder is complaining about right now, prior to the timeout.
Scott Foster and Pat Frere discussing this. Chris Paul wants a review.
I don't know, man. It's a tough one. It's tough. Like we fought hard all year. Obviously, a lot of people doubted us, but we didn't doubt ourselves. We didn't give a damn about anybody's predictions going into any series. In any game, we expected to win.
After all this evidence, the NBA thought they could keep it cool. But this time, Foster was out for Paul's legacy. See, in the 2021 NBA Finals, CP3 and the Suns were balling out, up 2-0 against the Bucks. The outcome was all in the Suns' hands until Chris Paul's nemesis came to shut the party down in Game 3. See, the Suns proceeded to lose 3 straight games, and the whole world knew it was impossible for Chris to beat Foster. But once the officials were announced, everything flipped. And before the game, Chris begged Scott to show him some mercy.
Milwaukee, this was before the game. An interesting long discussion, Scott Foster and Chris Paul.
Next thing you know, Giannis was tearing down rims on the way to 50 points.
Antetokounmpo inside.
Holding on to the ball. The spin move, the finish.
To get off his mid-range jumper.
Middleton inside, nice entry pass. And the 50 points.
Chris Paul had a ref controlling his life, and in 2023, it finally hit a boiling point, because Chris was called for a flop. Then Foster brought up Chris Paul's son, so CP3 wanted to fight.
This has been going on for a good 45 seconds.
This has been going on. And now a technical foul. Scott Foster had enough. He had enough after a lengthy conversation. Don't know if Chris Paul had said something different, and maybe he's going to get tossed. There it is. Scott Foster says goodbye. And now Steph Curry grabs Chris Paul to hold him back from going back at Scott Foster.
Chris finally couldn't hold it in any longer. It was for reasons that went back to his kid.
We had a situation some years ago, and it's personal. You know what I mean? Like, the league know, everybody know, it's been a meeting and all that, and it's just a situation with my son, and so I'm okay with a ref talking, saying whatever, saying just don't use a tech to get your point across.
Scott Foster has ruined the point guard's career. I mean, his career with Foster is 3-17 versus 73-56 without. So one day, Chris won't hold back on his enemy.
Scott is different in that aspect. You want to talk about Scott?
I can't. Not right now. I can't right now. But in due time, we'll have that conversation. I can't right now.